welcome to Think BRICS. We are delighted to welcome George Galloway to Think BRICS.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, his name is synonymous with British politics, international advocacy, and unwavering principles, right? Mr. Galloway is a great example of someone who combines grassroots activism and global diplomacy. He has worked in parliament, in war zones also, and with communities all over the world. We met George and his lovely wife, Gayatri, at the accreditation room in the chaos of BRICS Summit in Kazan last October. It was a bit of a mess, we should say, but George was there with us, and so we can say it without a problem. George is one of the people, one of us. Well, today we are meeting again in Moscow, where you can really feel the weight of history during the 80th Victory Day celebrations. For a politician who's always been a bit of a rebel when it comes to Western foreign policy, this setting feels right. It's like a bridge connecting the lessons of the past to the changing global order of today, which BRICS is trying to redefine. George Galloway is not just a politician. Today, he's also a YouTuber, but mostly he's a thinker who is not afraid to confront controversy, and his insights promise to shed light on the complexities of multipolar diplomacy, the enduring fight for justice, and human stories behind the headlines. Welcome again to Think BRICS.
Most kind. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
And let's get started. Well, my first question is, leaders and media in the West still pushing that Russia is isolated on the world stage. But we just saw a bunch of foreign dignitaries from Asia, Latin America, Africa, and even European states here at Moscow at Victory's Day celebrations. Would you say we are witnessing the most crowded isolation in geopolitical history?
That's a very good way of putting it. You could scarcely get a hotel room. You could scarcely get a place on Red Square because of the number of people who were not isolating Russia, but were in fact taking the view that all roads lead to the new Rome, which is Moscow, and a very fine Rome it is too. If you compare and contrast the dingy railway cabin scene in which Macron and Starmer and Merz were found in extraordinary circumstances, if you compare that with the scene on Red Square, you actually get a picture of the contrasting fortunes. The energy that was present in Red Square was the energy of the new world that is being born. And the dinginess, or more, in that railway compartment, it had a bit of the last days of Hitler in the bunker about it. Everything, the optics were shockingly bad, even if they were not doing anything illegal or wrong. So no, I think the days when you could credibly claim that Russia was isolated are long past. The Russian economy and the Russian prospect is so much brighter than that on the other side of the fence.
I see. They were talking about isolation back during the period of summit in Kazan also, when we faced 29 leaders and 6 international organizations present. And they still continue telling the same story that Russia is isolated.
Yes, but you can only go on telling a lie for so long until everyone you're telling it to knows that it's a lie. There were 21 or 23 heads of government on Red Square. And what governments? I mean, the president of China, the president of Brazil, the new hope of Africa, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the Vietnamese, the Indonesians,
Mongolia.
they were here in numbers. Half the population of the world was represented here, and more than half of the wealth of the world was represented here. And that's even more true in BRICS, was even more true in Kazan. So I'm afraid it's a tired old trope that it's the Russians who are isolated. It's the most unpopular politicians in the world. This is a point not often enough made, you know. Macron is so unpopular, he's having to imprison his main political rival. Starmer is so unpopular after less than a year in office that his own party are currently plotting to remove him. Merz is supported by fewer than 20% of the voters of Germany, and he's not even yet in office as the. So this is a collection of deeply unpopular people trying to divert the attention of their own electors from the very circumstances that have made them so unpopular.
Thank you. When the West puts together economic or military groups such as NATO or G7, it is seen as cooperation, they call that. But when the nations in the global south, such as the BRICS or SCO, do it, it is often called authoritarian alignment. Do you think these media double standards still work, or something changing among the public?
Well, again, it's one of these tropes that is subject to the law of diminishing returns. Once upon a time, you could say that we in the West lived in free and democratic countries. But people are asking me, will I be arrested when I go back to London? How does that thought even occur to someone? Someone who has been a member of the British Parliament across 5 decades, elected 7 times to Parliament. Might I be arrested for attending the celebration of the victory in the Second World War? The fact that that can even be asked, the fact that the freedom of people to demonstrate, to speak freely, to tweet. People get visited by the police in Britain for things they put on Facebook.
That's ridiculous.
And then they look round in their house to see if there are any further reasons to arrest them. So a man yesterday got an apology from the police for having been taken into custody, handcuffs, because his bookshelves contained Brexity type books. That's what the police justification was. Well, I was one of the leaders of Brexit. My house is full of Brexity style books. Arrest me. Now, once upon a time, we could claim to be free countries. And it was true that in the East, there was authoritarian government. But actually, I feel more free in Moscow right now than I would feel in Britain. I'm certainly more free than I would feel in Germany. In Germany, even I would be scared to express my genuine thoughts and opinions because, frankly, arrest would be inevitable. It'd be the least of your worries.
It's a pity to hear. So, but definitely here in Moscow, you should not be afraid to hear a knock in your door.
No, exactly. How things
about breakfast.
How things have
Brexit.
changed.
Yeah.
How things have changed.
But let's keep talking about the media because, as we said, you are now a big name on YouTube and other traditional platforms. Our channel recently said that BRICS should build its own internet, just to stop relying on Western platforms. And correct me if I'm wrong, this was the topic of the event you visited recently in Iran. So where you talk that now Western media doesn't give a voice to anti-imperialist views. So what do you think about the idea of internet for BRICS?
Well, I do think it's a very good idea. BRICS book would be a big step forward from Facebook. And the idea is an idea whose time has come. There's no doubt about that. Because although social media has allowed us to break free from the stranglehold, the prison of the former media oligarchs who controlled all the newspapers and all of the television stations, channels, uh, we now have transferred their dictatorship to a dictatorship of the tech oligarchs. Now, some of us are doing very well, as you say. I have 4 million views a week of the mother of all talk shows. I can't complain personally. But there are many other people, friends of mine, and people who are regularly my guests, who are faring not so well, who are being algorithmically strangled, suppressed, even banned,
Yeah.
even demonetized, then banned, and it's a tyranny. The fact that it's not personally affecting us so much is immaterial, partly because it could tomorrow change.
Happen. Yeah.
And I could end up in the same boat as others. So the only way we can resolve this is to take the means of distributing our labor, our product, uh, away from these oligarchs who are all have a political agenda which is greater than their commercial imperatives. You see, if this was left to the market, I'd be quite content because in the marketplace I'm quite strong.
Yeah.
But I have every reason to believe that these people will place political imperatives above commercial, and they will accept diktat from Western governments. So I pressed the case when I was in Tehran, as I have done here in Moscow, and as I will do before too long in Beijing, that in 3 languages, Farsi, Russian, and Chinese, and of course English, we need a new set of platforms. The argument is you can't recreate the wheel, you can't make another Mecca.
Yeah.
Mecca exists, people will always go to pray in it. You can't say suddenly Mecca is now in Yemen and expect people to start praying towards it. The battle is where we are now. And I understand that, but I do think that we have the means, we have the motive, we should be busy creating our own platforms. And if you build it, people will come.
I want to add, when we are talking about new internet, it's not only about the new platforms, it's about the entire infrastructure.
Yeah.
Servers, I don't know, the technical stuff, because now BRICS is half of the world's population. It's half of the world's population's data. And to give that data to the Western lead authorities, companies, so that's a mistake.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. Very well made. And it can't be right. We ought to have our own internet. I don't myself know the technicalities or how difficult that is, but I do know that if a server switched me off, I'd be off.
Yeah.
I do know that if someone for political reasons said your show is no longer going out onto the internet, I'd be silenced.
Exactly.
And that's very high price to pay.
The same thing that happened with Russia. Then one day, overnight, they switched off SWIFT from Russian banking system, and thanks God we had our Russian system that works inside the country. So otherwise, we could be blinded.
We were
So,
told when we were
so
children, weren't we, not to put all our eggs in
in
one
the one
basket.
basket, yeah. So the same thing may happen with internet.
Yeah.
If, as you told,
Yeah.
one day they decided that your show is no longer
Yeah.
welcome,
Yes.
they may switch it off. So, dear friends, BRICS should work on that.
BRICS tube.
BRICS tube.
BRICS book.
But we should not copy, I think. We should
No, I agree.
learn from the
Sure.
existing,
Sure.
but create something new.
What are these platforms? They're only blackboards on which people write.
Yeah.
And on which people post. Fair play to the people that invented them, but it's not rocket science,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Exactly.
We are capable of making blackboards ourselves.
Done once.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mr. Galloway, before we finish up, there is one question I'm dying to ask you about the next BRICS summit that will be in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil this July. You know that there are some people who are a bit skeptical about Brazil's leadership. But the other day, here in Moscow, we saw how good are relations between Lula da Silva and President Vladimir Putin. So, what do you think are the best ways for BRICS to work together and have more influence on global affairs?
Well, I do think they're going to have to ramp up their power, if you like. They're not having the effect, the impact, the weight that their population and their economic strength and cultural strength would warrant. We have to be, I say we, I'm not anything to do with BRICS, but I'm a big supporter of it. It needs to demonstrate its importance rather more. And when Russia was the chairman, then obviously that was easy. Russia is Russia. Brazil has taken a slightly less high profile approach to it, but President Lula was here for the Victory Day. His relations with both Russia and China are outstandingly good. He doesn't have such good relations with some other members or putative members of the BRICS, and we hope that they can be resolved. We will not be in Rio de Janeiro. It's just a trifle too far, too expensive for us. But I hope that it goes well. The BRICS is the hope of the world. And of course, it has limitations. The bigger it gets, the wider it gets, the less coherent it can be on certain issues. Some of its members are literally at war with each other. Others are threatening war with each other. Yeah. So it's not easy. I'm not pretending that it's easy to herd all these cats in a room, but it has to be a big advance on everyone just doing their own thing, being atomized, balkanized. I think BRICS is still the hope of the world.
You mentioned that Lula da Silva was here at Victory Day, and it is known that the next trip, Brazilian president from Moscow goes to Beijing. So this is also symbolic that Russia, China, and Brazil
are super close.
Very close.
And that's important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Well, if you want our subscribers, if you want more bold and honest conversations, don't miss George Galloway's show. Modes.
The mother
Of all talk shows. Yeah. It's a must watch for everyone who loves fearless political debate. Well, and if you enjoyed this interview, please consider subscribing to Think BRICS and supporting our independent channel. Just like Modes, we are committed to bringing you fresh perspectives outside the mainstream. Well, your support means a world to us, and it helps keep these important voices alive. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.
Not at all. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure to be interviewed by you. Thank you so much.